So it's impossible to talk about this movie without talking about politics, so...
Hello, Adam Ryan Donato!
Hello, welcome back to another Hard Review, and I am here to talk about The Apprentice. This movie, once I realized that it was actually finally coming out, I was very excited to go see. For me personally, this is the year of Sebastian Stan. I think he's great in my favorite movie of the year thus far, which is A Different Man. And then not long after, he's in this, and he is the lead role, and I really think this is a hard role to really tackle, especially in a dramatic film, because everyone and their mother has done a Donald Trump impression. Now, that's not the same as like doing the role, but like the hand motions, the, voice that he does, the cadence that he has, everybody knows how to do a Trump impression. Obviously, it's very popular on SNL, and then like movies like She Said had a voice actor play Donald Trump, which apparently was a guy from SNL, which is like, this is a serious movie. What are we doing? So it's hard to do a dramatic role playing Donald Trump, especially a month before the election, where it's like taken seriously and it's not just a goof. And I think Sebastian Stan did a really good job here. I think that he wasn't too animated with it. As the movie went along, he became more of the Trump that I know, which makes total sense because obviously I have not been alive for the entire time that Trump has been alive, and I'm way more familiar with the old man who became president than I am with the young upstart businessman who was just trying to do hotels and casinos and stuff. But still, it's just, for me, it was like the way that he like would purse his lips. It was the way that he would like look, the way he would smile, the way that he like physically would carry himself. I really enjoyed everything about Sebastian Stan's performance. Do I think it's going to go down all time as the best Donald Trump performance ever? Maybe not, but I really loved it. I love his interpretation of this character. That being said, there's certain portions of this movie, specifically the first act of the movie, I think is entirely stolen by Jeremy Strong's character of Steve Cohen. He's such an intense, intimidating character. Obviously, the movie is about him taking Donald Trump under his wing and making him into the dominant businessman that he is today. Jeremy Strong's one that I'm not incredibly familiar with his work. Obviously, I've seen stuff like The Big Short and The Judge. He's wonderful in this movie, and I would love to see him get a supporting actor nomination, as well as like Sebastian Stan getting a lead actor nomination. And then Maria Bakalova, who I'm really enjoying her career. I think she did a really great job as Ivana Trump in this movie. There's a scene in particular that really, I was breaking my heart for her. So obviously, this movie is rooted in politics. Their opinion on this movie is definitely going to be swayed by their political views, and that's understandable. If you watch this movie and you're like, wow, that's a vile monster, and I hate him, and he sucks, that's a valid interpretation. It's a totally valid interpretation. In fact, that's my interpretation. He's disgusting. That being said, if someone watched this movie and was like, well, it was definitely like trying to be a hit piece, but it actually failed at that, and it just showed how he's this like dominant, ambitious go-getter businessman, and showed how he like finessed the entire system. With the political landscape being as such these days, I've learned that it's like there's really no point in debating it with anybody. Of course, I fall into the trap of debating about it with people, and I believe that I'm right and my views are correct and your views are wrong. But even if you support Trump, there's definitely like things that are bad about him. Like, he's definitely not the most upstanding citizen in the world. It's crazy at the beginning of this movie to see him be like, oh, isn't that illegal? Shouldn't we not be doing that? Because it's like, wow, today it's like, well, who cares about that anymore? And honestly, it was like a scary movie to watch. Like, a lot of it, I was like cringing and I felt so uncomfortable. It was like excruciating, especially the further the movie got along to more modern times. Now, that being said, slight spoiler here, we don't get into modern times. Like, we don't get to the presidency or anything like that, which I'm happy. This movie really isn't about that. It's about The Apprentice. Think about the title and why it's called that. It's not because of the show. That's just cute. It's about his relationship with Jeremy Strong and how he becomes corrupted, kind of like Anakin Skywalker to the dark side. But yeah, it really is chilling to see how he became the way that he is, how the events of his life panned out. Now, at the beginning of this movie, they did say that things were sensationalized. I don't know what necessarily he did or didn't do and what's, blown out of proportion. I'm sure that we'll never know. I do think this movie is important to watch, whether you're on either side of the political spectrum, because Trump doesn't want you to see it. And that's why you should see it. Like, the fact that he's put so many lawsuits against the movie shows that it really bothers him. When there are movies out there or art that is not like openly like offensive, people don't want you to go see it, then you should definitely go see it. It is interesting to see the different passion from different political groups, because when Am I Racist was coming out, that's like what, the fourth highest grossing documentary of all time. That movie did really well. Reagan's still out in theaters. It's doing really well. The God's Not Dead franchise is on its like fifth film. Like, there are people turning out for these Republican films. But liberal films like this, don't think there was many showtimes with double-digit people this entire weekend for The Apprentice, at least at my theaters. I think that a lot of the noise about it will be way more about the politics, way more about how Trump doesn't want you to see it, way more about how it's like, well, yeah, he's obviously a piece of shit. I don't think that the filmmaking is going to be appreciated enough. The performances specifically that I really, really enjoyed, and the writing of the movie and what this movie had to say and what the themes of it were. It definitely feels like a movie that was written the morning of January 7th, back in 2021, because it really has a lot to do with how that situation went down. At least to me, that was my interpretation of the situation. But yeah, man, he sucks, but this is a 5 out of 5. I mean, I did love it. I really enjoyed watching it. It was hard to watch, but it's one I want to see again. It's one that I admire so much. I really love everything that it has to say. I love the performances. I love so much about it. I think this is a great movie. 5 out of 5. Go check this one out in theaters because they don't want you to go see it, so that's why you should go see it. Like, comment, subscribe, and why don't you guys tell me who you're voting for?